professor Roberto Ferreira. Estou aqui para colocar para vocês vídeo 21, Precious Plastic 2.
Welcome to a new Precious Plastic instruction video. Alright, so today we're going to build the compression machine. It's a bit like baking cookies, but now we're going to bake plastic. The plastic goes in the mold and the mold goes in the oven. This is slowly heated and pressed until the final shape comes out. It's a relatively slow but easy process, and the machine is quite affordable and easy to build. Alright, so before we get started, you can download all the instruction, information and the blueprints. And if you have any questions, feel free to post a topic in our forums. Let's get started. That's the machine we're going to build. And it consists out of 4 different parts. We have the oven, the framework, the press and the electronics. And we're going to start off making the oven. This is where the mold goes inside and gets heated. And first thing we're going to need for this is an oven. Alright, so we're currently at the scrapyard, which is a great way to find an old oven. I mean, they're like everywhere you can find these old electronics, which is still pretty good to use. We found one. Alright, these things are a great starting point to start off with, because they already have all the isolation and the heating elements. We just need to modify and strip it down so we can use it. So every oven basically already has temperature control installed. However, we cannot really use this because it's not accurate enough. So we're gonna strip it down and get our own one. So we stripped down the oven and we cleaned it up, and now we're going to give it a nice jacket and use our blueprints as a reference, but since every oven is different in size, you might need to recalculate a few things. We're going to weld. So we finished the framework around the oven to make it nice and strong. But before we're going to close it down with metal sheets, we like to add some isolation in there. It's optional to use this, you don't need to, but we like it because it's more energy efficient. So we're going to put it in here and then we're going to close it down. We finished the oven, isolated it, put some sheet metal on it, built a framework, and it should look something like this. Alright, so we finished the oven and now we're gonna build the framework. This is what holds the oven and the press together. So we finished the frame. It's made of some metal tubes, pretty straightforward. And now we're gonna add the little feet. So we have these things, which we have when we cut metal. These are the leftovers. And we're gonna weld them right here. We finished the frame for now. We're going to paint it later because first we're going to make the pressing system. Right, so we finished the oven, the framework, and now we're going to build the pressing system. And this will move a platform up and down in the oven that presses the mold together.
Yeah.
Okay. So we finished up the pressing platform that goes inside the oven, and this thing can go up and down. And in order to do this, we're going to use a car jack, and this should be pretty easy to find. And although they might look different, they are pretty much the same, but do make sure to double check your dimensions to make sure it all fits. And we're going to connect the pressing platform on the car jack so we can slide it up and down. And then we're going to connect all of this to the framework and it should be finished. Yep. So currently the platform can still move around and we don't want this. So when we install the car jack, we're also going to weld it on here. So it doesn't spin around, but we can also keep removing it by removing the bolt. We're going to install this metal plate on top of the oven. That's because some ovens are not as strong on the top. I want to make sure it can handle the pressure. So just to be sure, we're going to add this plate. However, if your oven is strong enough, there's no need to make this. We finished up the oven, the framework, installed the press and made a platform inside. Everything works, as you can see. And now we're going to make the electronics. Alright, so we finished the oven, the framework and the pressing system. And now we're going to finish up the electronics and wire it all up. First we're going to build this metal box and then we're going to connect everything together to make it work. Yep. Okay. We just finished the metal box. Now we're going to install all the electronics. We're going to install this switch to turn on the electricity, which make this light go on so we can see it's on. Then we're going to install this thermocouple in the oven. This will measure the temperature inside the oven, which will then be transferred into this controller, where we can measure the amount of temperature and set. And this one will go to the solid state relay, which will then again heat on the oven. And we're going to wire it up with some cables. If you're looking for a great way to find a cable. This one is from an old printer and we will use this for the main power supply. works. We're attaching the electronics to the oven, and we're going to connect the two heating elements, which are here, and then a little light, which is optionally, but we like to have a light inside. Alright, so here we have the compression molding machine, and it's basically an oven that heats and melts the plastic, and we can apply pressure. And the first thing we need to create something is a mold. So here we have a mold, and we're gonna fill it up with plastic. So now we're gonna put on the other part, which presses everything together, and then we're gonna put it in the oven. So the mold is in the oven, and now we need to melt the plastic. So we're gonna turn it on and set the right temperature. Once the plastic melts, we're gonna apply pressure, so we squeeze everything together. This is a relatively slow process, and it totally depends on the type of plastic you use and the size of your object, how much pressure you need and how long it takes. The oven is cooled down, and now we're gonna take it out and see the result. So here we have the end result. It looks nice and smooth, no burnt edges. Now we made a solid block, but as you can imagine, if you make other molds, you can make more complex parts, or even press two sheets together to create sheet material. And we would love to see where you can come up with. Alright. Thank you for watching the video. I hope everything was clear. If it wasn't, feel free to post the topic in our forums. And one thing to note is that the machines are built in a modular way, which means you can always upgrade or repair them, but also customize them to your needs. So if you happen to make a hack or customization, we would absolutely love to see it, because in this way we can all work together to create better machines. In the next video we're going to make molds and show you how to create things with these machines. And for now, thanks for watching, good luck with building, and hope to see you in the next Precious Plastic video. Welcome to a new Precious Plastic video. Alright, so today we're going to build the injection machine. Basically the machine injects plastic into a mold, and it's best suited to make small plastic objects. And since we're working with molds, you can easily replicate them and start a small production. In this video we will guide you how to build the machine, let you know which are crucial points in the building process, and give you a few tips and tricks. Before you get started, you should download all the technical information and the blueprints. And if you have any other questions or something is unclear, feel free to post a topic in our forums. Now, let's get started. So, that's the machine we're going to build, the injection machine. Then we're going to weld it, and then it will fit perfectly. Alright, so we finished the hopper and now we're gonna make the barrel. And this is the most crucial part of the machine. It's where the plastic gets heated and pressed. So the core of this barrel is a pipe and it's based on the universal plumbing system. So make sure the dimensions are accurate. And one of the things to pay attention to is that most tubes are welded. So you get this little welding line in here. So make sure to get an extruded pipe, which is completely smooth from the inside. Okay, so we finished the hole in the tube. And now we need to tap some wire on this. Every plumber should have this, so it should be easily available. If your tube is slightly too thick, you can sand off a little and then make it work. Let's do it. So we finished up the wire on the barrel, made a hole, we sanded it up, and now we're gonna connect the little holders. Perfect. Alright, so we finished the hopper and the barrel, and now we're going to focus on the nozzle. This is where the plastic gets injected in the mold. And luckily, this is the most easiest part of the machine. So since we're using the plumbing system, the cool thing about this is that you can have all different kinds of weird elements that fit on here. And we use these things for the nozzle. We like to use this one in combination with this one. They fit together perfectly and they don't leak. And we customize this little part, make it flat, drill a hole, and we weld this one on top of a mold. So in this way we can perfectly add the nozzle to the mold without any leaks. Alright, so we finished the hopper, the barrel and the nozzle, and now we're going to build the framework. It seems like a lot of work, but it's quite doable. Okay, so we cut out all the parts for the framework. It's pretty straightforward, some metal tubes, and we're going to weld them together according to the technical drawing. Let's do it! Okay, so it's all, everything is made and assembled together. Make sure it all works and everything fits. And now we're gonna sand it off, give it a paint job and put some wood inside. Okay. So the frame is ready, painted, and now we're gonna put everything in. Everything works. Now we're gonna make the electronics. Alright, so we finished the hopper, the barrel, the nozzle and the framework. And now we need the last part, which are the electronics. This is what heats up the plastic and we can measure temperature. First we're going to build this little box and then we're going to wire up everything to the machine. We cut out all the pieces for the control box and we made this one out of metal because we have the tools around and I kind of like it when it's strong. But you can also make it from another material like wood or plastic or laser cut it. But we're going to weld this together and finish the box. Extra. Okay, let's stop. So we finished the box and now we're going to install all the electronics. We start with a switch to turn on the electricity. We have a light that goes on as well, so you can see it's on. Then we have the sensors and these will measure the temperature, which will be transferred into the controller. And here you can select the temperature you want. This will transfer a signal to the solid state relay, which will heat up your heating elements, and these will go around the barrel. So we're going to wire it all up, add the cables and put it in the box, install it on the machine. So niet precies boven, zo kan het. We connected the electronics to the machine and now we're going to connect all the sensors and heating elements. We're just going to slide them up here and attach them. We have two different temperature controllers and two different sensors. These are connected to the top sensor and the nozzle is to the bottom. That's because we want this one to be slightly higher temperature. So you want to make sure that one sensor is connected to the bottom one and one to this one right here. So we can measure both temperatures in a different range. Quick test. Here we have the injection machine and we already poured in some plastic and now we're going to heat it up. And we're going to do that by turning it on and setting the right temperature. And it depends which temperature you need on the type of plastic you're working with. So we're going to set it, wait for about 10 minutes and then we're going to inject. The machine is heated up and as you can see the nozzle is slightly higher temperature than the others. That's because we want to give it an extra boost before it hits the mold. So let's give it a shot. So as you can see the injection went pretty well. The color is good, nice texture and it didn't smoke, so we have the right temperature settings. However, usually we don't inject plastic like this, but we screw a mold underneath and then we'll squeeze the plastic inside here. And in this way we can create all sorts of small little objects. Alright. thank you for watching the video. I hope everything was clear. If it wasn't, feel free to post the topic in our forums. And one thing to note is that the machines are built in a modular way, which means you can always upgrade or repair them, but also customize them to your needs. So if you happen to make a hack or customization, we would absolutely love to see it, because in this way we can all work together to create better machines. In the next video we're going to make molds and show you how to create things with these machines. And for now, thanks for watching, good luck with building, and hope to see you in the next Precious Plastic video. Welcome to a new Precious Plastic video. So in the previous video we learned about plastic and we built our own machines. However, another crucial element is to get the material. And luckily this is quite easy because plastic is everywhere around us. So you could use your own plastic waste like bottles or packaging, separated from the normal trash. However, this is probably not enough to get a production running. Another option is to start looking for it. Gather plastic around in your local neighborhood and collect it. And this is a great method because it also cleans up the streets. However, it's still quite time consuming. So you could also ask your friends or family to collect plastic for you. I mean, the more plastic that gets recycled, the better. And once your little workshop is running and you're selling things, you could also ask people to bring plastic to you. Waste that they found or collected, they could bring it to you and get something in return. This could be money, points, products, whatever you think is worth it. And this will trigger people around you to collect plastic waste, because it has a value. So we made a poster for this, which you can download in our download pack. If you cannot print that big, you can also paint it. But make sure to add a reward and select which type of plastic you're looking for. Hang this thing outside your workspace and let the magic happen. So in the previous video, we learned that there are a lot of different types of plastic out there, each with their own behavior and properties. However, they all melt at a certain temperature. So we could toss them all together and heat them up and mold it into something new. However, we don't recommend this because you end up with a mixed material. We like to keep it pure. The main reason we do this is because you end up with a pure material, which is easier to recycle again, because you know what it is. Separating plastic can be difficult in the beginning, but it will pay off in the end. So it's good to have an efficient system to do this and separate right from the start. Educate yourself and other collectors around you that there are different types of plastic. This makes it much more valuable and easier to work with. In fact, the easiest is probably to focus on one type of plastic first. Fully master that and then add more. Or work in batches, like on Monday you do polypropylene, Tuesday polyethylene, etc. The machines we build prefer to work with clean plastic. And there are a few ways to do this. You could just wash the plastic in its original shape. You could ask people to only bring clean plastic. Or you shred it and you wash it afterwards. We made a few prototypes for this. However, it totally depends what you like and where you live, which works the best. But overall, the cleaner the plastic, the better. Now, before you're gonna shred plastic, you can also sort it out in colors. So for instance, have all the blues together or make your own weird mixture. And there's no need to do this, but it's just visually interesting and it's a fun thing to do. Either way, we also made some labels which you can print out. It's little stickers which you can paste on the containers. And we use this to see the difference between the different types of plastic. We use these buckets. Case got a lot of those from the tobacco industry. And we like them because they're transparent. Originally we want to shred them, but then we figured they're pretty nice, let's use them. But obviously you could also just use any container out there. And by adding a label, you can easily see what's inside. It just keeps things nice and organized. Now these little stickers and the poster we just saw you can download in our download pack. If you have any questions, feel free to post the topic in our forums. And now that we know how to collect plastic and we built the machines, it's time for the next video. Create things with plastic. Hope to see you there. Alright, so I want to show you guys how we used our extrusion machine to make 3D printer filament. Alright, so here's the extrusion machine from our videos. And And the shredded plastic is in here, gets heated in this barrel, and then it comes out from the nozzle, as you can see. Wait, let me focus. And this is a key thing when making filament, to have a nice solid line. And this requires some tweaking and adjusting. So for instance, these are the temperature settings we use. And we also use a controllable engine, but you don't need this because you can also adjust with the nozzle, the output. But it takes a while before you have the right temperature settings. So we're currently extruding polypropylene, and this is what works for us, but it depends on your type of plastic, the environment, the speed. So like I said, tweak a little, try it out. Once you have it, write them down, never forget. So the extrusion is just extruding very nicely the plastic. Then it goes onto this thing. And this thing basically, first thing it does, it cools down the plastic with some old computer fans. And this is all just used for cooling, to make sure it's cooled down before we're gonna wind it up. So here is the winding up taking place on the spool, which you can use on your printer. And we can set the speed of these winding up over here. And this defines how thick you want your extruded filament to be. So this is a couple of settings, like the speed you're currently, the distance you've done so far, and the timing. Again, this also takes a while before you have the right settings. Once you have them, don't let them go. And this is actually quite nice. So this is just extruding, and you don't have to do anything with it. Once you have the right settings, it's just automatically, working for you. But this thing is still in beta, but extrusion is pretty finished up. Go watch our forums to visit the blueprints of this thing, and go watch our website to find the blueprints of the extrusion, and let us know if you have any questions. Welcome to a new Precious Plastic video. In the previous video we learned all about plastic, we built our own machines and we collected the material. And now it's time to create new things. So first we're going to talk a little bit about different melting temperatures of the plastic. Then we're going to talk about mold making, how to make your own molds and where to look out for. And then we're going to create objects from plastic waste. Let's go! So when you heat up plastic, it melts, but every type of plastic melts at a different temperature. Now you can easily look up the melting temperature online. But this is just a number and it doesn't really say much. We wanted to make it more visual for you guys. So we did a lot of different melting temperature experiments and made research. So each row is a different type of plastic. And here it's 120 degrees and here it's 280. And as you can see, some plastics start to melt at lower temperature, while others need much higher temperature to melt. And also some materials have a very long melting zone, where others are quite crucial, and you need to have the temperature quite accurate in order to have it melt properly, otherwise it burns. And this is a useful reference when you start working with plastic to see what it does at what temperature. So for instance, we can see what polystyrene does at 200 degrees. And we turned this in a poster which you can download and print to put in your workspace, or just watch it digitally. Overall, the principle of working with plastic is that you heat it up, you mold it, and then you let it cool down. You can shape plastic in almost any form when it's molten. However, for production, it's better to work with a mold because you can easily replicate. So metal is a good material because the plastic doesn't stick to it, and if it does, you can scrape it off. Next to that is durable and it can withstand the heat. Now our machines work with a whole variety of molds. You can CNC them, you can weld or make them on the lathe. It doesn't really matter that much which technique you use, but the more accurate you make your mold, the more accurate your output. Which is quite nice, because if you put a lot of effort in your mold once, you can easily replicate more products. So prototype around with different kinds of molds, but make sure your final one is accurate and well made. So now we're going to test a few molds in the machines. First thing we do is gonna select which type of plastic we're gonna use. And personally, we like to use ABS, polypropylene and polyethylene because we can easily find them around and they're pretty easy to mold into something new. So the first step is we're gonna shred it. Here we have the injection machine, and for this machine we have several different molds. So for instance, we use this one. It's a CNC millet block aluminum, and this is nice. However, this is quite an expensive technique to use. So we also made one using the lathe. This is actually the technique we use to make the spinning toy mold, and this is quite easy to do and affordable. Or you make them from some steel and weld it all together. So let's try this one out. We're gonna make a handle. Plastics. You can tell when it's done when you can't press anymore. Then it should be good. So now we use the red and the white mixture of different colors, but as you can imagine, using different colors or separating them, you can also make them solid black or blue, or create this marble-like textures. In the extrusion machine you can throw a lot of mixed colors, and the nice thing is that it turns around and it blends everything together, so you get one nice solid color coming out. Quite hot. For instance, here we started off with blue and white and slowly added more red, so you can create nice gradients, and you can use it to create new raw material. You could chop it and turn it into new granulate. Use it to weave something new, like this hat, or you can spin it around to tools to create handlebars, or get really creative and put a mold under here where you can turn it around. I mean, with just a single line of plastic you can do a whole lot. The compression machine basically compresses two plates together. Now, if you're gonna add some plastic in between, it squeezes it together, so we create these plastic sheets. And obviously we can play around with colors and mix them and blend them together to create something spacey or not. But we can also get more three-dimensional, for instance by adding a texture. But we can even make it more three-dimensional by making more three-dimensional molds. And this one is from this fruit bowl we make. And this way we can create these nice little bowls and containers. Another cool thing is that you can also make more solid objects, and it's super strong. Now in itself this isn't really useful, but if you look at this like wood and use conventional tooling, you can create a lot of new things with it. Sorry, the ball one. Obviously there's much more possible with these machines, and we barely made a few examples. So we would love to see what you can come up with. So if you made something, please share it. And if you have any questions, feel free to post the topic in our forums. Alright, so that's it for now. I wish you the very best of luck making things, and have fun cycling.
Just laughing, do tricks with their ropes as they ride. I'm just a cab next in line for the blood sacrifice. You left me tied to a post by the well. I can't get the water, but for that I'm well, and I'm getting stronger, and one day I'll bust out and ride. You wanna it's hard to see how the morning can come when the night is so thick on my skin. Seems like the snakes and the scorpions are my only friends. Well, if you wanna love me, I'll stay with you till the end. Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Welcome to a new Precious Plastic video. This one is the story behind the project. So this whole project basically started when I noticed how much plastic we produce each year, and it's just getting more, and how little of it actually gets recycled. They say less than 10% of it. I always wonder how they get these numbers, but obviously it's a lot. I mean, it's everywhere around. And plastic recycle machines are expensive and complex, so only the big industry can really afford them. So about 4 years ago, I started working on this as my graduation project at the Design Academy. I wanted to provide people the machine so they can get started recycling plastic themselves, locally. But, I mean, I studied design, I don't know how to build machines. So I started watching a lot of YouTube videos and made my first extrusion machine. Which I still have. From there I continued to work on the machines, build a bigger version and different ones. And they worked pretty well, so I made a few objects and shared all the technical drawings and blueprints on how to build these machines online. Open source, so others could build it as well. And a few did. Well, actually I think just 2 guys did. One from Germany and one from Spain. This made me realize that sharing something open source online is easy. You just throw everything you have online. But really making sure that people understand it and want to get started is a whole different game. This needed to be improved. A version 2 of the project. At that time I also won an award and decided to give it away to a machine builder that could help me out developing these machines. Because, well, I needed help, I'm still not a machine builder. And this is how I met Kees, an He didn't have a job and he really wanted to start working on these machines. However, I also received a very nice video from Alex in Mexico.
Hello there, my name is Alejandro Luna and I'm a mechatronic engineer. That means if it has bolts and wires, I can make it work.
He also wanted to really help out. So I was like, yeah, would be great, but I already gave the budget to Case and I don't really have any more to give away. And he said, well, I want to come anyway. So I was like, sure. And he came.
Yeah.
He worked on the machines, we became friends, and we called him Taco. Meanwhile, I did a material research in countries all over the world. Because we really wanted to make sure that the machines could be built everywhere in the world. And then we started developing prototypes. A lot of prototypes. For instance, here is a little process behind our shredder. The first one, well, that just didn't shred. We tried another option. Yeah, not so great either. We built a high-speed version, but whatever we threw in just came out. We tested mounting these saw blades on it, which looks pretty impressive, but didn't really work either. Step by step, we got a bit better and managed to shred. But we didn't really like it. It was super noisy and aggressive. We were interested in a friendlier process. See if we could also power it by just human power. Finally, we found something that could shred on low speed. He just eats it. Yeah. And that's basically how our shredder has been developed. And the other machines pretty much like that. We also did a ton of material experiments, working with plastic and see what it does, how the material flows, how the colors blend, and what gradients you get. Because working with plastic like this is pretty new. I mean, you can work with wood, metal and ceramic, but really working with plastic on a small scale isn't really done. So there was a lot to figure out and learn. And we also worked with some students from universities to see what other creative solutions they can come up with working with plastic. So once we got all this information, we need to make sure that we could share it in a way that people actually understand it. So I started making these instruction videos. Welcome to a new Precious Plastic instruction video. Meanwhile, Mattia dropped by my workspace, an interaction designer from Germany.
Hey, I'm Mattia.
Also a really nice guy. And he wanted to help out with the projects to share all this knowledge in an understandable, clear way. And he started working on the website. But we also needed a new logo because the other one was kind of difficult to use. So we asked the community for help, gathered a lot of input, voted, and finally came up with this one. Which I really like. Thank you. Then that moment comes of getting everything online. Super exciting. I mean, we've put a lot of effort in this thing. But I'm kind of a deadline guy, so we had quite a tight one, because literally the next day after the project got online, we went 6 months backpacking in Asia. I love traveling around, seeing all these amazing things, eating weird food, seeing how people work, live and have a different perspective on life. But I also love learning about the plastic problems in the Maldives, visiting the slums in India, diving into landfills in Cambodia, or cleaning up beaches from plastic in Indonesia. Have a look at storyhopper.com if you want to see more of these videos I made during the trip. Anyway, meanwhile I was traveling, but the whole project was online, and people started spreading, watching, downloading and building these machines. My internet access was limited because I was in the slums in India, but every now and then I got a nice picture from someone that built the machines.
Here they are being built somewhere in Brazil, Barcelona, Ukraine, Singapore, Shenzhen, Japan, Budapest. They're used for workshops in Spain, by students in Mexico, or on a beach in Portugal. It's great to see a full set in South Korea, or have people working with it in Indonesia. Seeing organizations using them to set up recycle shops. And seeing them tested somewhere in South Africa and get their feedback. Some individuals are even replicating and selling the machines as a business. Oh, and if you think machine building is just for boys, these 4 girls built a set in Taiwan. And then it starts. People collecting, separating, drying, discovering the beauty of plastic, making molds, creating mirrors, skateboards, flower pots, designy lamps, or even water filters for developing countries. And meanwhile, Mattia bought a van and started driving around Europe, spreading the project on a more analog way.
Now our main focus is to have people recycling plastic all over the world. So it's pretty satisfying seeing people all over the world actually getting started. But traveling around, you realize how massive this plastic problem is. I mean, here in the developed world, our trash and plastic is tucked away in bins and containers. So it's there, but we don't really see it. But over there, you can literally see it everywhere around. It's affecting people's lives, environment, animals, everyone that lives around that area. There's enough material around to be working with for decades. Now luckily, about 100 people worldwide are setting up these small plastic recycle shops, which is just great. However, on a global scale, the impact isn't really that big yet. There could be a shop like that in every village of the world. We've been working on a plan on how to get there, and we could really use some help. Visit next.preciousplastic.com to see how you can help us out. This is Precious Plastic. About a year ago, we launched version 2. Many people got interested, liked, shared, spread. Millions of people were reached. Thank you for that. Hundreds even got started, downloaded, cut, welded. Collecting, shredding and making things from waste. Recycling plastic all over the planet. Using our machines, blueprints and video tutorials to experiment, make products and have some fun recycling. People started in Spain, Czech Republic,
Argentina,
Chiang Mai, Thailand,
China,
Chile,
Sri Lanka,
South Korea,
Mexico City,
and a lot more. This is great. But it's just the beginning. Plenty of others wish to join them.
We want to get started in India.
We want to get started in Kenya.
Let's get started in Germany.
In Monterrey, Mexico.
I want to get started in Ghana.
I want to get started in Hong Kong.
Let's get started in Australia.
I want to get started in Singapore.
Let's get started from Nigeria.
We want to get started in Morocco.
And way more that want to start recycling plastic all around the world. But in order for this to really kick off, Precious Plastic needs an update. And we made a plan on how to get there. We're gonna create a collection of beautiful objects and teach people how to make them using video tutorials. We will upgrade our digital platform to make local collaboration better. We will provide starter kits that will make machine building as easy as pie. And we will create business models so people can use plastic waste to make a living. This will help to clean up our environments, start a new wave of micro-businesses in developing countries, and change our perception of plastic, from disposable to valuable. Our system will be open source available for everyone, for free. Many already use this to start recycling plastic, but this new version would make plastic recycling go bananas. So far, we've invested an incredible amount of time and resources trying to tackle this massive plastic waste problem, or at least contribute somehow. Starting from the ground up in my student room, doing some crappy experiments and sharing them online. And others all over the web started helping out. 4 years later, we developed our own machines, which people all over the world use to recycle plastic. But the problem is still massive, and if we seriously want to have an impact, we need some help. Our team is simply too small. Now we have a rock solid plan to make this happen, but to do this we need two things: money and people. You can make a donation to cover our development and material costs, or come and join us develop this hands-on, chipping in with your skills. Your support will make it possible for many others around the world to get started, trying to solve this massive problem altogether. You can follow our progress, see what we still need and how to help us out. Visit next.preciousplastic.com to show your support, and let's try to fix this all together. Welcome to the launch video of Precious Plastic version 3. In this video I'm going to give you an overview of all the things we've been working on and made for this version. But first I'll give a little bit of background of this project. So since 2013 we started working on providing people the tools and knowledge so they can start recycling plastic themselves. And 2 versions later, many people from around the world started actually setting up these plastic recycle workspaces. From South Korea to Thailand, New Zealand, Mexico, Austria, and with a new one opening up every week. However, the plastic problem is bigger than these 130 people around the world that started. Plastic waste can be found in every corner of the world, so should be plastic recycling. So we started developing this new version, version 3. And we kicked it off with our banana campaign. See, we really wanted to develop this version independent. Don't rely on investors or shipping goodies around the world with a Kickstarter, or rely on grants from the government. We really wanted to develop this with the support of people, for the people, bottom up. So we came up with this new thing called the Money and People campaign. Basically, we outlined our plan, what we wanted to do, put it online and asked people to either support with money or with their skills. So people could donate or they come to our workspace and really help us develop this version hands-on. But it was kind of a shitty offer. I mean, people had to take care of their own travel, find a place to sleep and work full-time in this workspace to develop this new version. But people actually came. So before we dive into the details of version 3, we need one big thanks for the entire team from all over the world that helped to develop this version. Joey, Marta, Katrina, Emil, Bjorn, Matthijs, Sonja, Mattia, Jerry and our cardboard version of Taco. He couldn't be here because of stupid visa reasons. But it's really without these people dedicating all their time and effort into developing this version and being here working with plastic, is that we're able to pull off this version. So now let's get started showing you guys version 3. Yeah! So a big part of Precious Plastic are our machines. They actually turn the plastic trash into new valuable things. However, we don't really see people in households setting up these machines in their garage. We like to see it as you have a few places in each village around the world where you can bring your plastic trash and they take care of it, because it takes quite some time, effort and dedication to really run a proper recycling workspace. Because plastic recycling is about more than only building machines. It's about setting up a process from collecting, to separating, to shredding, and finally you make something out of it. And every now and then we set up these workspaces ourselves from scratch, so we learn from that. And one time we did it in Kisii in Kenya, and we had 2 weeks to set up this entire workspace from scratch. However, while doing this, we realized it's kind of complex to set this thing up yourself completely from scratch without any guidelines to really have an overview of the full process. So we figured, what if we could streamline this process, standardize it in a way that it becomes easier for everyone else to set it up. So we squeezed our entire workspace inside a 30 square meter surface, which happens to be the same as a shipping container, which you can easily find anywhere in the world. So everything fits inside this container. So people bring their plastic trash, it's being sorted out on different types. Then we have a shredder which chops it into small flakes, which we store here on different type and color. We have some tools to work with the molds, which can be stored in here. And in this area we have the machines that heat up the plastic and actually turn it into something new. And on this back wall we can display all the things that are made in here. So people can walk in, have a look at them and buy them. So the whole process is very linear. You really start there with plastic trash and then all the way up to here where you turn it into something new. We share all the blueprints and instruction videos to set up a workspace like this yourself online on our website. But you don't need to do it in a container. If you already have a space, use that one. We just provide this as a blueprint, not for building machines, but really setting up this whole recycling workspace. Now we are aware that it can be a bit overwhelming to set up an entire workspace like this on your own. But like I said, we don't really see these as individual workspaces, but more that they are set up in little villages or communities around the world. So you could also collaborate and make it happen together. And in order to make that easier, we made a map. So on this map, you can find people in your neighborhood that also want to get started. So let's say you live in Bali, Indonesia, you can just go there online and see who else in your area would like to start, and you can get in touch. You can also add your own pin to this map. So let's say you want to get started and you want to help out promoting or building machines or collecting plastic. Mention this in your pin so people around can get in touch and you can start together. And on this map you can also see workspaces that have already been set up. It's just fun to watch, but it could also be useful to learn from them or maybe give them a visit to see how they've done their things locally. So make sure to add yourself to the map, because all together we can make it happen. So in the beginning of this version we did a lot of experiments working with plastic just to understand the material and really push it to the limits. For instance, here we made a bowl with a completely new texture which almost looks more like bubble gum. Or in this one we made a block and really sanded and polished it so it looks like marble, it's super shiny. Or make objects that are bigger than what we usually work with and putting plastic in a completely new perspective. And we really needed to do all these experiments to understand the material and really push it to the limits. Now I would say 90% of the things we try here, they fail. That's kind of what we do, a lot of trial and error. But we share the information we get back to you guys so you don't have to make the same mistakes as us again. So experimenting with plastic is a big part of this version, just to understand where we're working with and the possibilities of the material. So for us this is a palette of possibilities and color blends and texture where we can make many more products out of. So we've been doing a lot of material tests and experiments, but they were all kind of rough and quickly made. We really wanted to see what if we could really dedicate a serious amount of time to each object to see how far we can push the value of plastic. So we made 5 different objects and each of them containing an impressive story about plastic. So here we have the first one. It's a piece of ivory, and we started crafting this when we heard that plastic was originated as a replacement for ivory, because we started making more and more products from this material and it got very scarce. So we needed to find a replacement, a cheap replacement, which was plastic. So we decided to take it the other way around and really make this expensive ivory piece out of plastic waste. This object is based on a mineral, which is a valuable raw resources to start building something new. So we put a lot of different color blends, variations in here to really show this thing as a raw, rough diamond where it still has a lot of potential. So this vase is all about the texture. So usually when we make plastic objects, they're super quickly made, efficient, and a super smooth surfaces, so it pops out of the mold quickly. So for this one we really wanted to make it all by hand, so we could really impose all these textures on it, which gives a completely different look. It doesn't look like plastic at all, but it's actually made from DVD cases. And here we have our gold bars, because we really see plastic as a precious material. It's made from a fossil fuel, from oil, where we're slowly running out of, and we just cannot make more of it. So the amount we have, that's all we got. So it might look like a cheap material the way how we treat it now, but it isn't, and it's a matter of time before we're gonna figure that out. And for the last one, we bought this cheap €5 plastic outdoor chair and started crafting it and applying new texture to it, really putting a lot of craftsmanship in here to make the chair more valuable and show that it's not the material which makes it cheap, it's the amount of time and effort we put into it. And the moment we start dedicating more of our precious time, the object also becomes more valuable. So these objects are quite abstract and not super useful in daily life. They're a good way for us to communicate the story about plastic, and we really learned a lot and developed new techniques while we made them. But for you guys, probably not super useful, so we turned them into different individual techniques, the best one we got out of this, and we're going to share those with you. So after doing all these experiments and making these art objects, we learned a lot about plastic and came across many new interesting techniques. So we have this information, but we like it that you know how to do this as well. So we created a whole new bunch of technique instruction videos that show you how to do it. So for instance, one is that you show how to make your own CNC millet mold from aluminum, which is a super precise and advanced technique. So you can really make advanced objects like an iPhone case, which needs to be very precise so it snaps on your phone. So we'll show you in the video how to make this mold and how to mill it. Another one is how to create these marble-like shapes and objects. So they're made from plastic bags fused together, and it becomes super strong and solid. And these objects open up a whole new way because you can edit them later with different tools. Or with our extrusion machine, we found a way on how to make beams. So you can make them in different colors, sizes, or textures. And these things, well, they look nice, but you can construct things with it, like a tower or a shed or a ladder. And that again opens up this whole new world of possibilities. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that one. And here we have wall grips. They're made using aluminum casted molds, which is a very manual way of making molds, but it's super cheap because you just use some old aluminum, you heat it up, you melt it, and you can really craft your own mold. Make this bowl using laser cutted molds. So you can cut the parts, weld them together and create this basic shape. But as you can imagine, with that technique, you could also make a whole different range of products. And there are many more techniques than this on the website to show you different ways of how to work with plastic and how to make molds. And we introduced this new section on the website where community members can share their instruction video.
Hi, we're Happenstance Workshop.
We're going to show you how to make some stew cakes.
Hi, I'm Shimon from Slovakia, and I will teach you how to make recycled plastic wall cloth.
We highly encourage the rest of the community to share your videos because in this way it's not Precious Plastic headquarters that needs to get all this information, but it really comes from the entire community all over the world, so the project can really grow beyond us, which is a powerful next step. Now we applied that same thinking on starter kits. Originally we promised to deliver you guys starter kits so you can make machines more easier yourself. However, when we gave it a good think, it didn't really make sense in the long run. You see, we would like Precious Plastic to run on its own, not relying on us. So if we would drop that tomorrow, the project would still continue. But if we're the one providing the starter kits and we're not there anymore, the project stops. So we were looking for a solution in the long run, and we went all in on doing it more local. We're training machine builders around the world to build these machines themselves in their local area by providing them an instruction video, tools, blueprints to set up their own efficient, streamlined process and their own machine building business so they can sell them. And it's fully embedded in our platform. So as a machine builder, you can add yourself to our map so people can find you and get in touch. Or if you made machines or parts, you can sell them in our online bazaar. Which brings me to the next point. Very often we get an email from someone around the world asking us if we can sell the machines to them. However, we don't do this because we really focus on the development of the project and the machines and not in selling and building them. But we also got a lot of emails from people like machine builders saying they would like to sell the machines to someone, but they don't know who wants them. So it would be super nice if those people meet each other, because then they can help each other out. And we try to make this connection, but it's difficult with so many people, so many emails, we can't really do it properly ourselves. So we started thinking and created our online bazaar. It's basically an online marketplace where people from Precious Plastic can buy and sell objects. They could sell their shredded plastic, parts of the machines, plastic objects they made, and on the other hand, people can buy them. So by buying objects on the bazaar, you instantly support those who work in plastic recycling. So it's a good way, on the one hand, to support this community, but also really to get it easier going yourself. So you could buy parts of machines or a whole machine in your local area, so it doesn't need to be shipped all around the world. Now this thing is still in beta because there's still a lot to figure out, and we don't really know if people actually want this. I mean, it's an idea that makes a lot of sense to us, but let's see and find out how it will go. But make sure to add your items on there if you want to sell something and buy something, so you support these Precious Plastic recycle workspaces around the world. Alright, so these were all our big updates, but we also have a few small ones. So first we have machine upgrades, which you can see on our website, and they make the machines more efficient, safer or quicker. So for instance, this screw fits the extrusion machine, and once you upgrade it, you have a lot of new possibilities. And we made these tiny brass stamps that make it easy to mark your product. So once you make something from plastic, you heat up the coin and you mark the product, which you can find in our bazaar. And we made a precious plastic manual. So this is a booklet that contains all the information about how to run your own shop, how to set it up, how to run the machines, how plastic works. This is the manual you need when you set up a precious plastic workspace. You can also find the PDF version in our download kit. Now, everything what we do and what you just saw in the video, we share open source online for free. We don't even ask for an email address. In the end, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for anyone in the world to start recycling plastic. However, if you start, it would be nice to participate in our community, because all together we can really grow it and make this movement bigger. So we asked for money and people when we started this campaign, and all our people power went into the things you just saw. But I also want to show you where all our money went and how much we actually got. So I'm going to show that with some badass charts. So we worked on this version from February till October 2017. We had 307 single donations and raised 8,300 euro. We had 354 Patreons who supported us monthly, and altogether they raised 11,200 euros. And we did a few collaborations here and there, and we had 25,000 euro from that, which in total makes it 44,500 euro. This was our budget to develop this version. Our expenses went here. The biggest part into materials like metals and molds, rent and electricity for the workspace, and team compensations to make sure we can keep going what we want to do. And in total this was 48,000 euro. Not a super good output, but we'll make it work. So to put this in perspective, this is without actually hiring all the people that helped. So if we did hire this dream team of 9 people on an average of 4 months each, we would have to spend 90,000 euro. So people helping out with this project and putting their energy in it has been a crucial part of the project. So a big thanks for the entire team that helped out, all our active online community helpers that helped out, and everyone that supported on Patreon and brought a donation. All together you made this version possible. Really, Precious Plastic runs fully on the power of the community. It's funded, developed and executed by people like you from around the world. So if you want to help out with this project, or want to get started, add yourself to the map. Buy plastic recycled products in our bazaar if you want to support individual precious plastic workspaces around the world. Join our community to actively help out with support for those that need it. And even sharing this around is a crucial part for the project. We have all the information to start recycling plastic, but if people don't know it exists, it doesn't do anything. And finally, you can support us with a donation or support us monthly on Patreon to keep us really going in the long run. So next week we're gonna have an offline exhibition of a whole version 3, so you can see all these things in real life, from our container to the experiments to these wall grips. And on the 21st of October it starts, and we're gonna start off with a lounge event, so we will be there, our entire team. So drop by if you're around in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. And if you live a bit too far or you can't make it, I will post the next monthly news update. I'm gonna do a tour around and show you everything digitally, so stay tuned. Oh, and make sure to visit preciousplastic.com to watch our brand new promo video. It's awesome. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna take a sleep and I'll see you next time.
Estou sempre à disposição nos meus e-mails para tirar qualquer dúvida que possa ter ficado. Não se furtem de me consultar. Um abraço a todos.